Hi, welcome to my Just Whiskey 100th live show, unedited and brought to you. Drum roll, please. All right, let me head over to my studio here. Let me adjust the camera and move away this Springbank 21 bottle for a second. Oh, fudge, what the? Oh my God. Oh, Jesus. Oh, man. Oh, I hate when that happens. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh boy. Okay. Well, that was a whiskey lock gag. I stole that from him. I lifted that gag from Whiskey Lock. Don't worry, folks. No Springbank 21 was harmed in this performance. All right. Let's try from the beginning here. Let's see if we can make this thing work. Here we go. Hi, I'm John from Just Whiskey. Thanks for joining and celebrating my 100th show. If you like today's show, which I think you're gonna, please like and make sure you subscribe, because this is going to be a good show and you're going to want to see every other show I do after this. I guarantee it. Also consider becoming a Patreon with the link in the description below. I've been doing this for a year and a half now, and I'm very thankful that I have one Patreon subscriber. So hopefully some more people will come on board to help support this channel in the future. All right, I'm a little winded because I did, you know me, I do live takes. So that was like my 5th or 6th edit there. All right, we are going to be talking about Springbank 21. This is the 2019 release. It was bottled on January 29th, 2019. This is a 700 milliliter bottle. And according to Whiskey Base, which I believe to be accurate on this in this regard, is that this offering is matured with 45% port and 55% rum. I bought this in 2019 at a whopping 272 euros, which was about $300 US at the time, which was and is still a lot of money. I talk about Springbank auction prices. Just a quick update on a recent Skinner auction, which just closed yesterday. A Springbank 21 sold for $800, and a Springbank 10 local barley sold for $600. Now, if you remember one of my previous shows, I mentioned the Skinner April auction, and a Springbank 21 sold for $850, and the local barley sold for $700. So I don't know if that signifies any kind of a trend, but the prices are a little bit lower this past auction for Springbank. Okay. Now, we're gonna get into some deep stuff here. I have another Springbank 21. This one is a 2018. And the reason why I'm bringing this out is because what I've noticed more than any other offering that I've bottle that I've ever had. On the bottom, there is a hazy sediment. And when you flip the bottle over, I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up, but you can see the sediment and the haze billowing down. I don't know if the camera picks it up, but there's actually quite a bit of it. And so what I did is, that's where all the flavor juice is, in my opinion, or maybe not. But what I did, hours before I'm reviewing this, is I tipped this bottle upside down and left it in this box for a good 10, 15, maybe even 20 minutes, quite a while, to let all that haze. And then I took the bottle and I turned it on its side, and I very slowly turned it to really get everything into the whiskey into a nice continuity. Okay. All right. Stay tuned to the very end, because I have some important Springbank news that you're not going to want to miss, and it's regarding Springbank expansion plans. So at the very end, I will elaborate on that if that interests you, which I think it probably will. Okay, let's get on the review here. Move this over a little bit. Here we go. Okay, I've spent a lot of time with this. I opened this up probably 2 months ago, and I'd say probably once or twice a week, I've been pouring myself a small dram, letting it oxidize, and the whole 9 yards. Okay. On the nose doesn't jump out at you. You need to go nose deep. That's a new phrase I'm coining. Nose deep. So you can get your nose right in there, and you don't have to worry about nostril hairs being burned up. Okay. There's a hint of that wine note, that slightly sour wine note that you get is very slight. If I use my imagination, I could say, yes, there's a hint of a rum essence there, but I really have to, it's a bit of a stretch. Bit perfumey on the nose. Brown sugar. Anisey. A little bit of mint and menthol. Not overpowering, just a little bit. But more prominently, which I like, is that candied cigarette, starburst, fruit chews, so that candied fruit, and a little bit of black tea. Okay, that's all on the nose. There is no funk. I cannot pick up any funk, any Springbank funk on this whatsoever, on the nose or the palate. People say, what is Springbank funk? For me, it's like a barnyard, farmhouse, wet, grassy hay, fermented grassy hay, barnyardy kind of a note that's prevalent in a lot of Springbanks and some other whiskeys as well. Okay, so Springbank 21 obviously is a Campbelltown, well-regarded Scotch whiskey. I'm not picking up any peat or smoke in this one. On the palate, you're getting a very light, delicate mouthfeel. Those berry fruits, those candied berry fruits are bursting. That's the most prominent. There is a hint of honey, a little bit of pineapple, a little bit of graham cracker, a little chalkiness to it, which is not uncommon. Although it is slightly sweet, there is a dryness about it. a very slight astringency, which leads into a medium light finish. I don't want to say long, but a medium to medium plus finish. Again, this is a very delicate, subtle dram that you want to take your time with. You really want to sit down. If you're going to buy a Springbank 21 or this one, the 2019, you really want to relax and like if you're smoking a cigar or going to a baseball game, you know, baseball games are very long and they force you to relax. Same thing with smoking a cigar. You know, a good cigar could take you upwards of an hour to really relax and enjoy with it. And that's how I feel about this. So the finish, back to the finish, medium light finish. There's a dryness to it, very light sweetness. It does have a bit of a creamy tongue feel, a creamy tongue coating, and a little bit of waxiness to that creamy tongue coating. A drop or two of water does bring out those fruit notes, those berried fruit notes a little bit more, but at 46% ABV, in my opinion, this does not need water. But a drop or two won't hurt it. No more than that, in my opinion. So we know Springbank, you know, this is a 700 milliliter bottle. I bought this overseas. That's why it was 272 euros, 46% ABV. Okay. Before I get into the score, I just want to, in my opinion, with the few 18-year-olds and the very few 21-year-olds that I've had, this is my opinion. This is just generally speaking. Most of them lean towards 46% ABV, which is an integrity bottling. But when you, in my opinion, from my limited experience, when you get into that 18 to 21-year-old, if you're still sticking with 46%, sometimes it works, but in my opinion, sometimes it could benefit from a higher ABV. And that's one of my cautions if people are really starting to get into 18-year-olds or 21-year-olds and they're at a 46% ABV. Again, some are fine and they work well that way, but I've noticed that the ABV should be a little bit higher in most cases, from my experience, to get the full benefit out of it. And then we are going to get to the score. Also, too, I've talked about this in the past. I look at Whiskey Base all the time. You have to take their scores with a grain of salt, because every now and then you see a average score of 88 or 90 or whatever. But then when you really start looking through them all, you'll see there's that one reviewer, and I wouldn't even call them a reviewer, but there's that one score that says 100. And then it'll say exceptional. I've seen another score where it says 99 and it just says solid. I don't understand why Whiskey Base allows that. I think you need to elaborate a little bit more with your background and a little bit more of a review than just to throw in 100 or a 99, because very, very few, it's extremely rare that a reviewer would score something that high. So that can really tilt the scales. So having said all that, my score of my enjoyment for this, and I'm going to just get a little bit into it, is I was expecting more. This was my unicorn. When I bought this, I had it tucked away for the longest time, and I said, when a special time comes, I'm going to crack this open. So I had huge expectations. A couple of very prominent whiskey tubers have rated this particular Springbank 21 2019 release very highly. Some have even said it's, the best Springbank 21 in recent releases. So I really had, super high expectations of it. This is certainly, if you're willing to take the time and sit down and relax with this, you will find enjoyment in it. But for the prices they're getting nowadays, but even at the $300 that I paid for this, plus a little bit of shipping, that's a lot of money. So for my enjoyment, I would score this between an 87 and an 88. The quality would probably put it 90 or higher, right? The quality is certainly there. I just wish it had a little higher ABV, but it doesn't. So that's my score on this. And we are coming up with the Springbank expansion news as well. So 87 to 88, depending. I think that's my evaluation of it. In my opinion, for people out there that want to get into Springbank, if you can find it, from my experience, the Springbank 10, the Springbank 12, and the some Springbank local barleys are where you're going to get that Springbank everything, the power and the essence and the exuberance. we can go on and on with adjectives. So yeah, Springbank 10, Springbank 12, the local barley. And speaking of the local barley, this is why you need to subscribe, because an upcoming review, which I've been getting into, is this is a Springbank 10 local barley. This is a 2017 release, and I've been chipping away at this, and I'm going to have a review of this coming up very soon. But just to give you a little bit of a teaser, this has been sitting out with the cap for quite a while, and I've been sipping on it a little bit. This Springbank 10 local barley, year 2017, is cask strength, 57.3%. I paid about $125 in 2019 when that it came out in 2017, but I bought it in 2019. I think for around $125, right around there anyway. This is an awesome whiskey. So stay tuned for the complete review and score. All right, I'll have a sip. That's very good. As far as price goes, when you're getting above $100, but in nowadays market, when you're getting above $200, $300, $400, $500, $600, it can be sometimes be the law of diminishing returns. But anyway, all right. So the news that you've been waiting to hear about, the Springbank expansion plans. Okay, this is a podcast from Cask Nation. Okay, they've been around for about 10 years, and there's two friends that started this 10 years ago, and Cask Nation. They generally release very high quality, hard to get spirits. So I listened to their podcast, and it was about 2 weeks ago that they one was in Scotland with COVID, talking to his partner through the podcast, and so this is their reference, which you can see it was a couple of weeks ago. They have a couple of podcasts out in the last couple of weeks. Okay, they said that they've heard that Springbank are going to be coming out eventually with 2 new distilleries, one on site and one a bit off site, not far away, like a block away, maybe across the street, not too far away. And they have plans to build a malting floor at Glengyle, because what I've learned now that Springbank does is Springbank has its own malting floor. Springbank does everything in-house, including the bottling. Springbank has its own malting floor, and I didn't know this, but for 3 weeks out of every year, they use that malting floor for Glengyle, which makes Kilkerran. So with the demand for Springbank, they are trying to maximize their output. So they want to build a malting floor at Glengyle. So even though it seems like a little bit, that extra 3 weeks can up their volume just a little bit. So I thought that was very interesting, and that was from a reputable source. And obviously these things are going to take time, but it almost sounds like the malting floor is going to become probably more of an immediate thing, so that's good news that, so maybe on the horizon, maybe we'll see, with the way the economy is going right now, today's like June 17th, I think, 2022. The way the economy is going right now, with the stock market is just diving, maybe the secondary market is going to start cooling down, along with everything else. Maybe it won't. Who knows? I'm just speculating. What do I know? So hopefully over time, with that malting floor from Kilkerran, giving up that 3 weeks will help, and with their expansion, and it sounds like Campbelltown is really exploding with new distilleries. I think there's upwards, don't quote me, upwards of 9, I think, 8 or 9 that are, of course we have Glen Scotia, Glengyle, and Springbank. So there's 3. I think there's 3 or 4 or 5 other ones that are being built, and with Springbank at least contemplating expansion, I think that's good. And then the other thing I want to talk about too, real quick, why you should subscribe is because very soon I am going to be having a review of a well-known Scotch, which other people have talked about. It's no big secret that I don't want to say similar to Springbank, but comparable, okay, to Springbank. So that's going to be coming up very soon, as well as my local barley review, as well as many other great. I've opened up a lot of great bottles. I'm just opening up the floodgates, and I'm just going for it. So very soon I'm going to be reviewing a whiskey that is comparable for a lot less money to Springbank. It's in my opinion, it's the closest you're going to get to a Springbank experience without having Springbank. And it's actually another review after that with another one that's in the same ballpark-ish, that I'll be talking about for Springbank alternatives. Well, okay, folks, I'm not going to jump back on the drums. I'm a little bit pooped now. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe. I really want to get to 1,000 subscribers. Keep watching Ralphie and Whiskey Lock, to name a couple. And remember, folks, no matter how much it costs or how good it is, it's just whiskey, folks. So hats off to you all, and let's Go out with a bang.